In a vibrant village nestled in the heart of West Africa, there lived a widower named Kwame. He was a respected farmer, known for his kindness and his love for his only daughter Amina. Amina was as radiant as the morning sun, with a heart so pure that everyone in the village loved her. Her mother, Kwame's first wife, had passed away when Amina was very young, leaving Kwame to raise her all alone. Though it was difficult, Kwame managed, showering his daughter with love and teaching her the values of hard work, kindness, and respect. As time went on, Kwame realized that Amina needed a mother figure, someone to guide her as she grew into womanhood. He decided to remarry, hoping to bring a woman into their home who would love Amina as much as he did. After careful consideration, Kwame married a woman named Ruth. Ruth came from a nearby village and was known for her beauty and charm. At first, she seemed to be the perfect addition to Kwame's household. She smiled sweetly and treated Amina with kindness, as any mother should. But beneath her pleasant exterior lay a heart filled with envy and bitterness. Ruth quickly noticed how much Kwame adored Amina and how much the villagers admired her for her beauty and gentle nature. They often commented on how Amina reminded them of her late mother, a woman loved by all. Ruth couldn't bear to live in the shadows of Amina's mother, or see the affection that everyone showered upon her stepdaughter. Slowly, her true nature began to reveal itself. The first signs of Ruth's wickedness appeared in the small way she treated Amina when Kwame was not around. She would give Amina the hardest chores to do, like fetching water from the farthest well, washing clothes of the entire household, cooking and cleaning until dusk. Amina, being the obedient and respectful girl, never complained. She did everything she was asked to do without question, hoping that her stepmother would eventually come to love her. However, the more Ruth saw Amina's resilience and strength, the more bitter she became. She resented the way Amina carried out attacks without complaining, the way she smiled despite the burden placed on her shoulders. To Ruth, Amina's perseverance was an insult, a constant reminder of how much she hated her. One day, Ruth came up with a wicked plan. She decided that Amina had to go. She had to find a way to rid herself of the girl once and for all. But she knew that Kwame adored his daughter, and if anything happened to Amina, suspicion would fall on her. So she devised a way to make it seem like Amina's disappearance was an unfortunate accident. Ruth called Amina and said to her, "Amina, the firewood we have is running low. I need you to go into the forest and collect enough wood to last us for the whole month. You must go far beyond the usual place where you gather wood, because the trees are thicker and the woods are stronger." Amina hesitated. She knew the forest would be dangerous, especially the deeper parts where wild animals roamed and the spirits of the ancestors were said to dwell. But she trusted her stepmother and believed that Ruth would never send her into harm's way. So early the next morning, Amina set off with her basket to collect firewood, just as she was instructed. As Amina ventured further into the forest, the trees grew taller and the paths became less familiar. She had never gone this far before, and soon she realized that she was lost. The sun began to set and the forest grew darker. Fear crept into her heart as the sounds of the animals echoed around her, and the shadows seemed to close in on her. She tried to find her way back, but the more she walked, the more disoriented she became. Meanwhile, back at the village, Ruth was confident that her plan had worked. She believed that Amina would either be lost forever or met a terrible fate in the forest, and no one would be able to blame it on her. She smiled to herself, imagining how peaceful her life would become without Amina's presence. But what she did not know was that Amina's mother had been watching over her all along. As Amina wandering through the forest, lost and frightened, she came upon an ancient baobab tree. Exhausted, she sat beneath it and wept, praying to her ancestors for help. Just as she finished her prayer, the air around her began to shift. A soft glow appeared before her, and from the glow a figure emerged. It was the spirit of her late mother, radiant and kind. "Amina, my dear child," the spirit said, "I have seen your suffering, and I have heard your prayers. You are not alone. I will guide you out of this forest and protect you from evil and those that seek to harm you." Amina, though startled, felt a sense of peace wash over her. She stood and followed the light that her mother's spirit cast, walking through the forest with a renewed sense of hope. The path that once seemed impossible to navigate now opened before her, clear and bright. In no time, Amina found herself back at the edge of the village. When Amina returned home, Ruth was shocked to see her stepdaughter alive and well. She had been certain that Amina would never return. But there was something different about Amina now. She seemed to glow with a light that made her even more beautiful than before. The villagers noticed the change as well, and they began to whisper amongst themselves, wondering if the ancestors had blessed her. Ruth's jealousy turned to fear. She realized that something was beyond her control was protecting Amina, something she could never defeat. But instead of repenting from her wickedness, Ruth became even more determined to destroy Amina. She waited for another opportunity to strike. Not long after, a great festival was held in the village to honor the spirits of the ancestors. It was a time of celebration where the villagers would give thanks for the blessings they had received throughout the year. As part of the festival, a grand feast was prepared and everyone in the village was invited. Ruth saw this as a chance and prepared a special dish for Amina, one that she had laced with poison. She smiled as she handed the bowl to Amina, knowing that once the girl ate it, she would fall sick and die. But as Amina sat down to eat, her mother's spirit appeared once more. This time, only Amina could see it. "Do not eat from that bowl, my child," the spirit warned. "Your stepmother has poisoned it. Give it to her instead and watch what happens." Amina, trusting her late mother's words, stood up and walked over to Ruth. "Stepmother," she said sweetly, "you have worked so hard to prepare this meal for me. Please allow me to serve you this instead." Ruth, caught off guard, hesitated for a moment, but then laughed. "Of course, my dear," she said, taking the bowl from Amina without thinking. She began to eat. Within moments, Ruth's laughter instantly turned into choking. She gasped at her throat, her face contorted in pain. The villagers rushed to her aid, but it was too late. Ruth collapsed, her body shaking as the poison took action. In her final moments, she realized the terrible fate she had brought upon herself. The villagers were silent as they watched Ruth die. They now understood the truth. Ruth had been the wicked one all along, and Amina had been the victim of her cruelty. Kwame, heartbroken by the betrayal, embraced his daughter. Amina lived a peaceful life, protected by the spirit of her late mother and loved by the entire village. Her story became a lesson to all, a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, the light of truth and love will always prevail. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and share to your loved ones.